We should move on to the next thing. What's next?
Next thing is work.
Okay.
I love work.
What kind of work do you love?
I love.
What is work? What do you think? What is your major work? Would you say?
I'd say my main work is podcasts.
Okay.
I do a lot of podcasts. So my main work's podcasts, and then I'm currently writing a lot at the moment, which I really enjoy. Yeah.
Writing what?
Just writing like a collection of loads of different stories and stuff like that, and just getting lots of stuff down on paper.
Fictional stuff, non-fictional stuff?
Non-fictional, but I have an idea for fiction because I really, I feel like that's where I'm going to go eventually.
Really?
Is to do more writing. I love writing. It's the only time that you'll ever see me quiet and just in a zone. Otherwise, I'm just I'm a million miles an hour. But for some reason, when I sit and write, it's almost like meditating. I love it so much. I love writing.
When did that start?
I'd say I've always been kind of writing columns on and off.
Right.
And I do a column at the moment, opinion pieces and stuff like that. And I used to do an interiors column. So I've been doing it I'd say for 10 years doing columns, and then I'm starting to get stuff together, and then I have ideas for a fiction book that I'd love to do eventually. So getting all that kind of stuff together, and it really interests me.
What is how would you go about that? Do you have what's your session? What's your ideal writing session?
My ideal, now, for instance, I'm going to get in a car to Newquay, and that's what I love about writing as well, because you're just never on your own. So I've got my laptop ready to go, and I'll sit in the car and I'll just type away, because you can just do it anywhere. When you find yourself and you're like, God, I've got an hour now before I have to go there.
Yeah.
And so at least you're not wasting that hour. I love just using my time.
So you can write in a car?
I can write, yeah. I can
do
it.
I love a train. I can work on a plane, but I find cars, I'll just get a bit too sick. I used to love a good hour and a half train journey was perfect, because also you're going to focus solely on that thing.
Because there's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But it's also, it feels like the perfect kind of amount of time to really hyper focus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Seinfeld speaks about that in terms of stand-up writing, that 2 hours a day every day is really good, but you can't write for 8 hours.
No.
Let's say, because do you have
I would say so. I completely agree with that. I think that I kind of do it in word volume.
Bursts,
so
right.
how much I'd love to now write 2,000 words on the way down there, 2,500 words.
Right.
Right, 2,500 down there, 2,500 back, because I've kind of been writing about 5,000 words a week for the last while, just on different stories and different things that come to my head.
Really? So that's so interesting. So is that with a view to this book?
I'd say it's definitely with a view to eventually publish it and to do something with it. But it's for me, I just find it really I don't know, it's kind of, people meditate. I can't meditate. So for me, it's a real chill out, and I just enjoy it. And I just really enjoy the idea of making up stories. And there's been a couple of books that I've started, and then for whatever reason, I didn't continue with them. And now I'm just working on something that I think is really going to work out. So it's nice to just kind of do it all the time. But comedy writing is funny. I don't know how you sit there and just start with, and then start thinking about jokes. Do you not just have to get loads of notes down and then expand on jokes?
Yeah.
Do you find that you're always writing notes? I'm always writing notes.
So I couldn't sit down. So Woody Allen used to, basically, he would write down the equivalent of, we've got iPhone notes. He would write down things and he'd put them in the drawer, and he'd write them down, put it in the drawer. And then when it came to write a new film, he would get the drawer out and he'd just kind of empty the drawer and kind of go, okay, right, and then start writing on a thing. And I think that's what a lot of comedians do. It's certainly what I do. Yeah. I couldn't sit down and go, right, what do you write a joke about? But I could look at my notes and go, oh, that's an interesting thing. But I similarly find it very interesting, and I love doing it. But I'm lucky that I have then an audience that will prove it or disprove it. That's what I find interesting when you writing. I really struggle writing a long form book, because I've never done anything that hasn't been validated along the way. Do you know what I mean? In terms of someone say that all works, that doesn't.
See, I'd hate to do what you do.
No, but and similarly, because but the thing is, once I've done an hour, I know it works. Versus that feeling,
how long does it take you to write an hour of comedy? If you're doing
an hour that works.
An hour that works.
Oh, it can be it'd be a year.
Yeah, yeah,
You,
yeah.
you know, and you probably write 4 hours, where you just go there and
And then
just
practice it on
dive.
stage.
Yeah. But that's what I mean in terms of writing a book.
Yeah.
How is that process? Do you have like an editor? Like that relationship must have to be tight because they have to tell you this is shit, this is really good, and you
So
have to be able to, take on that
I
process.
love a note. I take a note
Do
very
you? Okay,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when my friend Martin, he was directing me in these documentaries I was doing in Ireland, and I was like, oh my God, it just like struck me. I was like, I'm always gonna have someone telling me what to do for my whole life. Um, but I think that like some people like thrive off that. Like when I was doing my podcast shows with my husband and with my friend Joanne, like we have a director Una, and she like on my favorite part of the night, like after the show, she'd come back and she'd give us notes, and I couldn't wait for the notes at the end of the night,
Oh, really?
and just to switch things up a little bit. I just think when
Was
you're
that for the live shows?
for the live
Yeah,
shows. So
yeah.
at the start when we were like just starting and like fine tuning those shows,
Got
and
you.
like the show that we started with it was similar to the show that we finished with, but as you know, it just changed so much. And I love the evolution of something like that and editing along with somebody. And it's the same with a book. And I work a lot with her and she's working with me on this thing. But I think with when I'm writing things like a collection of stories, it's very important to me that it's all of my own writing. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone else. I can take an edit and a note, but it has to be all my own words.
And when did you feel that kind of like calling to kind of write, like you say, is that where is your sort of dream future? You've written a few kind of novels and
Yeah, I love that. Like, I love reading. I read a huge amount. I read every single night before bed. And do you know what though? I'm weird. Like, I collect books as well. So
yeah,
I've got a bookshelf, and all the books that I've read are on the bookshelf. And it's kind of like you walk in and you're like, oh, look at all the books I read this year.
yeah.
And I kind of love that as well.
The display of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the look of books. Now, I will give books away to people if people really want it. There's a couple I wouldn't give away, but like the other ones I would always just give
What are the
away.
ones you wouldn't give away?
I wouldn't give away. There's two that I want to read again, like John Boyne, The Heart's Invisible Furies. I know I'll read that book again. And I love the Marion Keyes, Rachel's Holidays. I suppose I'll read that again. Really easy books to read, just fun books. They are. I feel like I go into a bit of a Marion Keyes hole, though. I'm like, okay, I'm turning into her family now. I have to pull back because I only kind of cottoned on to her this year. I know she's a huge writer, but then I was like 4 books in, and I was like, right, I better take a break from her.
Like you're addicted. I love that. You're like, listen, come on.
I've got one of her books in my bag, and I'm like,
That's so
right, that's
funny.
it now. After that, I have to
yeah.
take another break because that's the 3rd one in a row. So that's like 7 of her books this year I've read. So I'm like, I need to just move on to someone else for a while.
So, and were you always like a voracious reader?
No, I was, and then I kind of gave it up when I had kids.
Right.
And
That's
then,
interesting.
Yeah, well, because like your time is short, and I work a lot, and I kind of, so I sacrifice TV for books now. So I don't really watch much TV. I do watch a lot of property shows.
Oh yeah,
But
Christ.
and Gordon Ramsay, what's that, Nightmare Kitchen?
Oh,
You
is
know,
that
when
you
he goes
on?
in and
Yeah.
takes over. God, I watch so much of that. It's terrible.